Hello there, I'm Joe Ruggiero, and welcome to my podcast, Inspired, and the people who inspire me. And today, this is a first. I am having one of my guests back for the second time, only because the listeners to this podcast have requested it because they wanted to know more about her book. And you may remember the first segment I did with her was called Dare to Do Something Different. And you may want to refer to that on Spotify or wherever you get these podcasts. But she's here to talk about her book, which I think is fascinating, called The Accidental Photographer. And there's just so much in the book, so many words of wisdom, so many wonderful anecdotes to anyone interested in the design business. I called her determined. She didn't realize she was, but she's every bit the woman of today. And here she is, Karen Millay. Thank you for joining us.
Joe, it's great to be back. Thank you for having me.
Now, you mentioned something in the book which I thought was very, very interesting. Sometimes your mistakes are your best pieces of art.
Yes.
Or I don't know how that exact quote went,
Yes.
but I want you to talk a little bit about that.
Sure. I think I know exactly what you're talking about, too, is, basically the book, it's every page has a photo on it, many photos, and I go behind the scenes of one particular photo and then give some inspiration at the end. And that particular photo was a shot I was assigned to shoot the spa and guest rooms at the Montage Beverly Hills. And there was, the spa is absolutely beautiful, and the whirlpool has tile work, and it's just something out of another world. It's really timeless and pretty. And there was a silver bowl that had towels rolled up, little washcloth towels with cucumber in it. It was just very pretty. And I grabbed a quick handheld shot of it, and it had one of the bars going through it from the railing. And I looked at my camera on the screen in the back, and I was like, oh dear, that's a delete. That's a delete. But then when I got home and looked at it on my big screen, I thought, that looks really cool. There's something about that bar going through that sort of, it says something about I'm here, but I want to be there. And it's not just a photo, it becomes an emotion. And it was a mistake that turned into one of my favorite photos.
See, that's what happens. And there is a very famous Paris designer who said, and he published this on his Instagram page, the designs that never made the runway. And
Yeah.
some of them I thought were very interesting, and I sent them to my granddaughter because, of course, she's a fashion student, and I thought she would get a big kick out of it. Sometimes we don't all make the perfect decisions, but some of those bad decisions are great. So
That's
and I think
absolutely
that's very, very
true.
true. Now, I'm getting ahead of myself because you had this vision about you wanted to be a designer or a photographer. You are a designer. And I go back to the first time we met, and you had those little Polaroids or whatever that was, a Brownie camera, photographs of your niece's room and whatever, and you were showing to me, and you were very proud of them. How did you decide you wanted to end up as a photographer?
Well, I always say photography found me, but I had to be available for that. I worked for you for a couple years at the magazine, and that was amazing, and I was in interior design.
And you were a fantastic employee.
Oh, thank you. I was his assistant.
And I'm not just saying that.
Assistant to the editor-in-chief, everybody. We could do a whole podcast about that. And then after that, you set me up with my next job, which was for Victoria King, doing public relations for hotels around the world, which was absolutely amazing. And I did that for 11 years. And then I decided, I just hit the wall. It hit me. I didn't know what was going to happen. And I went to Guatemala, and where my dad was from.
Right.
And I picked up a camera and started shooting. And from a Guatemalan internet cafe, I went back and started school the very night I got home in photography school. So I had to be available for it to find me. I had been on so many shoots working for you and also working for the PR firm, countless shoots with amazing photographers. And I love the visual aspect, but I never thought I could do the camera math. I didn't understand aperture and shutter speed. So now it's a second language to me, of course. But
That amazes me. That amazes me.
so photography found me. It really did. But I had to free myself up. And I talk about this in the book and in the introduction about that whole history. And then I really launch into fears and apprehensions about various different shoots that I had and how I got over those uniquely in each situation and what resulted.
Well, because you are determined, which you don't readily admit, but you are. And I think that's wonderful to be able to have that determination to follow your dream. And I think many of the guests that I've had talk about their vision of what they wanted to do, and they were able to do it. Now, let's get back to the book. Your book chapters are by colors. Why?
Yeah, a friend of mine who laid out the book, Joanna Permore, an amazing designer in her own right, graphic designer, she and I we were talking about how are we going to tell these stories, and I said, gosh, I don't know. And she says, why don't we start organizing the photos by color? And some of those would have nature, interiors, travel within that color. So you could really go wild and tell some great stories. But okay, so it's the chapter on, red. And what does red mean? I said, well, I guess I should look up what red really means. And she says, no, let's just you pick out what red means for you. So I said red was revive, frolic, and engage. And for purple, I said serenity, fulfillment, imagination. And gold, I see courage, confidence, optimism. So I came up with those words when I thought of that color and the images that I put into that chapter. So that's how we did it.
Now, you were a student at Pepperdine.
Yeah.
And what made you decide what direction you wanted to go? Because I can't believe it. I remember when my son, who was an avid baseball player, and we went to Pepperdine, it was like Field of Dreams. They had the most incredible baseball field right there. Why didn't you take up baseball?
Yeah, no, I know. Oh gosh, yeah, Malibu was great. I think the highlight for me going to Pepperdine too was when I went to London. I did a whole semester, 3 months. My very first summer, I went to London.
I didn't know that.
For 3 months, and I think it really shaped my aesthetic. And it was when Laura Ashley was a big deal, and a big deal. We'd buy Laura Ashley dresses once a month while we were there, and with the matching petticoats, and of course going into Kensington Palace and having afternoon tea at the Hyde Park Hotel and seeing all that, all those.
Was that your
beautiful interiors.
first travel to abroad?
It was my first stamp on my passport.
Little did you know what was written in your epitaph.
No, that is true. But when I was at Pepperdine, I picked international affairs, political science as a major, but I really didn't know what I wanted to do. It really wasn't till I got out of school. I worked for my father for, I don't know, year and a half maybe. Learned how businesses run, which is
and
great.
And he was an
civil engineer.
Or civil engineer, yeah.
Yeah, I ran the office, learned how to do payroll and taxes and all that stuff. And then I went back to flirt in college and took a year of interior design, and then, met you. I think we might have told that story in the other one, so maybe people want to harken back to that. But
well, Oprah and I have a history together, and she always said there are no mistakes in life. There are no chance meetings in life. And I am a firm believer of that. And I had a daughter who used to say to me, that was a chance meeting with someone I might have known years ago. What is the message? She said, there's always a message. And I would have to think, and then I would come up with what the message was. So there are no chance meetings.
Agreed.
But now you have a very interesting story about the boat that broke down in Bora Bora.
Yeah, so I was lucky enough, basically it actually started in London. I took myself to London, and this was after my PR
And your
days.
parents allowed?
Yeah, go for it. So, but this was after my PR days. So in my hotel room was a Condé Nast Traveler magazine, and I tore out the masthead, and I knew how to read a masthead, having been on one, and so I saw the photo editor, Carolyn Metcalf, and I had my little promo postcards, so I sent one to her I remember taking it to the post office right there in South Kensington with my, Queen Elizabeth stamp on
Right.
it. There it was. And I finished my trip in Europe. And then I got home, and lo and behold, there was an email from Carolyn Metcalf that said, "I've been on your website. I love your work. Would you like to go to Bora Bora?"
Jeez, isn't that great?
So I got an amazing assignment to go to Bora Bora. Long short, she gave me a detailed shot list. We went to all these different islands. We were on a private yacht. It was incredible. And the very last stop was the Four Seasons Bora Bora. And you land on a Motu, that is the airport, and then you have to take a boat to the resort. So we're on the boat. It breaks down in the dark in the middle of the lagoon. And on my shot list, Carolyn had said, "Please shoot the Tahitian show." And it was there only one night during my short visit to that hotel. And I'm like, how am I going to get there? Oh no, oh no. So a boat came to rescue us. I literally grabbed my camera and I went to the Tahitian show, and I'm usually much shyer than this, but I didn't have time. I didn't have a tripod or anything. I had to get up close and personal. So I jumped on stage, and while they were shaking their hips with the hula, I'm getting these kind of like abstract fun. It turned out to be one of my most favorite shots of these hula hips with the grass skirt swinging and swaying. And I wouldn't have done it if the boat hadn't broken down. I would have
Right.
set up a proper shot with my tripod, and it might have been fine. But this one was exciting.
Well, a lot of these stories you tell in your book, and the thing that always amazes me is whenever I've been on a shoot with you, you always get into these positions that are unbelievable. And I always think of Michael Garland. They called him Monkey because he always got up on these things. Tell us about this ladder that you had to ascend.
Yes. So one of my first assignments was actually out here in the Valley. For Valley Magazine, my friend Bonnie Steele was editor-in-chief, and she knew I was just starting out in photography, and she said, "Look, we've got the best of, and there's all these things we want you to shoot, the best cheese shop, the best bakery, et cetera, including the best, wait for it, trapeze school." I'm like, oh my
Oh,
gosh.
no, you didn't.
So I arrived there. My friend Diana was assisting me, and the man who operated the trapeze school, people are swinging and swaying, and you have to get at a certain angle to capture this stuff.
Right.
He says, "Oh, feel free, go up this 2-story ladder." And I said to Diana, "Do not tell my mother ever," although she does listen to the podcast, that I went up that ladder. And something I had learned long ago from a cameraman was when you look through the lens of your camera, your fear of heights goes away. And I've used that so many times when I've been on small airplanes. In Mystique, you know how you take that little hopper, and I don't like that plane, but I look through my camera, and the fear goes away. It's like you're watching life on television or something, and I've got some of my best shots high up in the sky by doing that.
Now, do you have a drone?
No, I don't have a drone. I don't have a drone. Yeah.
Speaking of high up, you have an interesting story about the rooftops of Paris.
Oh, yes. So I took myself to Paris. I decided, I was coming. My photography career was, well in gear, and I was selling some art as well, which I still do, have my art site. And I thought, I really need the Eiffel Tower. I want to shoot the Eiffel Tower because I think people really love to put that in young girls' rooms or whatever. Right. It just has it's forever likable. So but I said, I've been to Paris. It's always been gloomy. I'm going in the summer. So I went in the summer, and guess what? It was gloomy skies, gray skies, and I thought, oh gosh, here I am. I got the Eiffel Tower in different ways, but I thought I'm just going to spend today in the museums because I don't want to be out in this gloom. So I was headed to the Louvre, but I did a little detour to the George Pompidou, which is, as you know, very modern. And I'm more of a traditionalist. So I didn't have a whole lot of time. And I went to the information desk and I said to the lady there, I said, if I only have a short amount of time, what are the highlights? What should I see? And she said, you know, with her French accent, do you even regard modern art? You know, like, oh my gosh, she made me feel like an inch high. Oh my gosh. And I almost turned on my heels and walked away. And I thought, well, oh gosh, what am I going to do? So they have these really cool escalators, as you know, and I was still licking my wounds from being shamed by her, and I took the escalator, and the next thing you know, I was on the top, or the rooftop, looking out, and I got my favorite shot of the Eiffel Tower peering up over the gloomy skyline of the rooftops of Paris, and it's a double-page spread on the book, and if it wasn't for her, if she had told me the top things I was supposed to see, I never would have found my way up there.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? Now, I mean, not to digress from the book, but you also have taught me something about photography as a wall decor. And you have done such an amazing job of helping people create environments through your photography. And you do have a site where people can order that as stretched canvas, I guess.
There's actually 4 different mediums. There's canvas and textured art paper, glossy, and also matte. Framing's also available, different sizes. And I was getting a lot of requests for images and to hang on the wall. So I created, it's called Shop Karen Millay. It's fully, automated, and they ship all over the country. And the quality of the production house is absolutely exquisite. It's so important. And I sign each one. I go there personally and sign it.
That is fantastic. Now back to the book. I was very honored to do the preface, and I came up with a quote, which I believe, but I didn't realize that I was so eloquent.
That's why I asked you to write the preface.
Well, but repeat that quote. Do you remember it?
Well, I'd have to look it up. Do you have it in? Well, it's a whole page of what you wrote me.
Right, but it was something about your vision and the fact that you bring a unique eye to what you're photographing. And I think any of the great photographers have their particular way of painting an image.
Yes, you said being exposed to beautiful things is one thing, but being able to see what no one else sees is indeed unique. Thank you for saying that.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Oh, wait a minute, I said it. Now let's go back to the book. You, early on, had an art show. And how did you make that happen?
Yes, so... Yeah, I had some help. So my older...
Don't we all need help?
I know, we all need help. And that's one thing I want to convey to people is, let people help you. And
I call them my angels.
Yes.
And you're one of them.
Oh, thank you. Not that my brother is an angel, but he did help me with this one. And I mapped out the images I wanted to produce and what it was going to cost and to print them, get them framed, the valet parking, the food, all the things for the show. And I came up with a budget, and he said, no problem. So he loaned me the money. Thankfully, I sold quite a few pieces, and I paid him back and gave him a piece of art as well. And the rest is history. But he gave me those wings to be able to step out and in faith and do what I really wanted to do.
And we all need those.
We sure do.
And I think that you have always remained not only a friend, but a benefactor, because no matter where I go in my career, you're involved. Yeah. you might say, oh my gosh, here he is again asking me for some advice.
No.
But you really were the impetus behind my travels for HGTV. And it just so happened that you worked at a PR firm and you were looking for some publicity for these properties. And you were an enormous help because when you did that, we used that as a destination. And then we found architects and designers in that particular area that became interviews and segments. And thanks to my daughter, Beth, Entertaining with Beth, if I can give her a plug, she was able to make those negotiations. And that was a wonderful eye-opener.
I loved that series, and I got to go with you for the Best of Jamaican Design.
That's right.
With Beth and the camera crew, and that was
Well,
really
you always
fun.
said to me, no, this is what you need to do. Now, you need to go to Dublin, and we have a great property there called the Marion. And that was the most fascinating story because it was across from Parliament, and they had 2 townhouses.
4 Georgian
Oh,
townhouses
4
that
Georgian
were
townhouses.
connected. I believe it's 4. Yes. Yeah.
And then they built the 100 hotel behind.
Yes, from the
100 rooms.
outside it looks like the Georgian townhouses, but when you go in the first door, then this hotel is revealed with a garden by Jim Reynolds over the parking garage.
Right.
And, yeah, it's
And then
special.
also you did, I was so fascinated by the stucadors. They were able to,
Yes.
I guess, save the beautiful work, the plaster work in these townhouses.
Beautiful plaster work. You'll just open a door to go down a staircase, and all of a sudden there's this amazing plaster work going down 4 floors. It's remarkable.
And call serendipity, but whatever, one of our designers, famous designers, Irish designers, canceled at the last minute. And Beth and I were just walking down the street, and we saw this little sign for a designer. We went in, and of course, the crew was following me. They didn't know what was going on. And we were able to record their showroom.
Oh, my
And
goodness, I
it
didn't
was
know that.
just, happenstance. And it was really a great thing. And of course, we went to Butterstream,
Oh,
which
Jim
was
Reynolds.
Jim Reynolds.
Yes, yes. Oh, my
And
gosh.
all of these were recommendations that you should have been a producer.
Well,
You are a producer.
Thank you. And I feel like in a way, if you're a creative, you are,
Yeah.
because it's about getting the job done and figuring out how you're going to get it done. So that is producing. And you need to have, left brain and right brain. And I talk in the book that if you want to be successful, there's really just, 3 things. If you do what you say you're going to do, you show up on time, and you follow up with a thank you, you are going to succeed.
Didn't you say and have a clean shirt? Oh, no, that was somebody else. I think.
It wouldn't hurt.
Well, I've learned so much from you. And of course, but what gave you the impetus to publish that book?
I had done a couple other books, one with a designer, Annette Tatum, The Well-Dressed Home for Rizzoli, which was great. And it was fun seeing that book come to life and my images in it. We used new shot images, but then also images I already had. And it made me think, gosh, I have a lot of images just sitting in my computer. What book would I want to do? And I toyed around with doing a book on flowers and different things and travel and et cetera. And then I thought, people ask me so many times. I still get this question: how did you become a photographer? Can you give me some inspiration? How did you reinvent yourself, in this career? And I thought, I have some words of wisdom to share.
And you do.
Thank you. And so I did the book, and one of my clients I shot for, I mentioned at Montage, actually, the gift shop at Montage Laguna Beach carried the book. And one day I got an email from a guest who, she says, I'm staying at the Montage. I've gone through a really hard time. My sister has cancer. Our family's breaking up. I'm here with my little son. For some reason, I reached for your book in the gift shop. I sat by the pool. I read every page. She said, I used to be a singer, and now I'm going to sing again.
Wow.
And I thought that's why I wrote the book. for that
Well, I
inspiration.
think it's so important, and I tried to instill this into my children. And we had a situation this morning with an earlier guest who was able to express his love from my son's lecturing. And I had no idea what, because I think the inspiration that you give people who are looking for that, so important. And I think that what I've tried to instill is service, and
Yes.
not, service for the royal family, but in terms of service to help other people. I guess it's help. And we as creatives have so much that we can share and give. Don't keep it to yourself, spread it around. And I think that was so good about your book. That was a self-published book, right?
Yes.
By you, but it is now available on Amazon
Correct. Yes.
for anyone to get, and it is called The Accidental Photographer, Karen Millay. And just to be able to pick that book up must give you great pride and joy. So now you have your book called Crush on the
Oh,
internet.
yes, I've got my little Instagram magazine.
I
It's
love those.
10 pages of inspiration, mainly
should
design and
compile-
travel. I did, you actually wrote the foreword, and then there's a preface I added a couple years ago when I did Crush. So the new editions of the book that are on Amazon all have the new preface, and I talk about how I started Crush, and Crush with a K.
Right.
And again, it's just some of my photo shoots, end up in different magazines and so forth. But then there's so many pictures I have that didn't end up on the pages, and I want to tell the story with those. So I think I'm an art director in another life too. Although I do have an art director for
And a
that.
publisher.
And a publisher. We all wear a lot of hats to get the job done,
Yes,
right?
I know. But it's nice that you have been able to express this. I mean, you're a baby, but I would like to say in your later years, you're able to bring this all together, all these talents. And you are even doing some on-camera work.
Oh, well, yes, for Crush we'll do little videos and such, and I guess, this podcast on air, and I'm getting out and about, telling
But
the
you're
story.
encouraging your designers who you photograph to do their little segments.
Absolutely. And, we interview them. I do the introduction, and then we leave it to them. We ask them questions about, their project and some of our favorite things in it, and why they did this or that. And they are wonderful at telling their own story. And then we wrap it up at the end. And I tell you, everybody loves behind the scenes.
Yes.
They just love it.
Yeah, no, I think so. And I can remember something when you were working with me at Home Magazine. You never told me what to do, but you were able to get your point across, which is something my mother always did. She never told me what to do, but she encouraged me to do certain things.
That is very
And that is
interesting.
a talent. That is a talent that you really have. And I really do appreciate that. Now, is there anything in closing that you want to say?
Well, I think just for everybody to take the leap of faith, don't get stuck. Find your passion and take a step back from what you're doing so you can really see the road ahead and find inspiration in the unexpected each
Well,
day.
do you have to take some kind of a test to find what talent you have? I mean, I know for a fact that there are people that love singing but really can't carry a
Oh,
note.
that's true. Yeah, no, that's true. I think you need the support of friends and family, but also I think it really is. Someone told me once, if you have one person who believes in you,
Give you encouragement.
yeah, one person who you trust and is not going to just, tell you what you want to hear, but make sure you have at least one person.
Well, I had Sister Concordia when I was in first grade, and she took me out of church, and she said, do a picture for open school night because we know that you can do this. I was so encouraged by what she did, and that stayed with me all my life because it was a stranger. Well, I mean, I guess she wasn't, but she was, that encouraged me.
Yes.
And then I went on, and I had people like Hubert de Givenchy tell me that I had talent, and I was very, very pleased by that. And that gave me the impetus to do what I'm doing,
Yes.
whatever that is.
Yes, yes. Listen to the people who want to help you.
Yeah,
That's another one.
that's a
Yeah.
good advice.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you, and welcome back.
Thanks for having me.